Absolutely beautiful. Welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I'm Cuddy Cudworth, the host of this podcast, where we get to talk to different inspirational, aspirational, amazing people who are in the field of wellness, making a difference and serving. And today I'm not going to introduce you, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Go for it, David.
Okay, well, my name's Dave Regan. I've been in this kind of, I guess, wellness, hypnosis, NLP, EFT, in this kind of arena for 27 years now. So a long time. And today, really, what I think we're going to focus on is talking about breathwork, which is an absolute passion of mine. I love it. We'll get into that, but honestly, if there is one kind of change work modality I'd recommend to anybody, it would be breathwork, even over hypnosis, which I've done for my lifetime.
I love that. That is a great introduction, and that will be the title. That'll be exactly what we're going to talk about: hypnosis, breathwork, meditation, the power of it, the differences with it, and how they make a massive difference in people's life. I'm a big fan of breathwork and meditation. I've done meditation for many, many years. So the history of me and you, David, bringing it up, you said you've been a hypnotherapist for 27 years.
Yeah.
How long have we known each other?
I guess 24 years, do you think? Something
Wow.
maybe.
So you'd only been doing hypnosis 3 years after when I first met you?
Yeah, probably.
Wow. So we've known each other. So for all our listeners and viewers of this podcast, David and I worked together in Fuerteventura. It was Fuerteventura. Then we
Yeah.
moved to Lanzarote.
Yeah.
Did you go first to Lanzarote, or did I go first to Lanzarote?
I think I went first to Lanzarote. I'm not sure. It's so long ago now.
And then you originally worked in, because you've actually starred on Sky way back in the
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
You worked in Ibiza. You met your lovely wife, who you've been with, Sharon, for many years. We were
Yeah.
next door neighbours in Fuerteventura.
We were next door neighbours. We were there when you proposed to Carol.
Oh, you were! Oh, you were! You
Yeah.
absolutely were. You were there. You were holding the. Do you remember the dodgy camera that we had? That was
Yeah.
was a really good video camera at that time with a SIM card, and it was absolutely atrocious.
I do remember.
Oh, it was a lovely meal, though, wasn't it?
It was a good meal. It was
I
great.
just realised my glasses always look squinty, whichever way I put them on.
Mine too.
I'm wearing new glasses. I didn't have glasses when we first met all those years ago.
No, neither did I.
Yeah. Oh, that's really took me back. That's the power of invoking a positive memory. That was a lovely night.
It was
Oh,
great,
the
wasn't it?
sun
We
was
had a great meal.
It was down at the lighthouse. So yeah, we've known each other for many years. I didn't realize you were into breathwork because I've been doing it for many years. I've been doing meditation for many years. And we're going to have an interesting conversation. I think we should start with the power of hypnosis for you, which I think, because we just talked about it before. So you're going to talk
Yeah.
about the power of hypnosis for you and why you thought you weren't doing meditation right. Because I think it's a really good conversation to have.
Okay. So let's start with the hypnosis then.
Yeah.
So hypnosis is an incredibly powerful tool, and I think that a lot of the current crop of popular modalities, really, they're hypnosis disguised. In fact, even NLP, which goes back to the 1970s now, this is just another form of hypnosis. It's, in fact, all communication is hypnosis. This is something that the founders of NLP talk about. Anytime we try and transfer a thought from my mind to your mind, any kind of communication, that's hypnosis in itself. I'm trying to change your state. I'm trying to bring you along with me. So yes, absolutely, all communication is hypnosis. However, you can either be very conscious about what you're doing, or a lot of people who are doing these modalities aren't even aware that what they're doing is hypnosis, which I think is absolutely fine, except that you need to be a little bit aware about the impact you're having on someone if you don't realize that you're opening them up to be much more suggestible.
Yeah. So in hypnosis, it's the power of suggestion, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because on the video course that I have for meditation, there's a set, and we talked about this. There's a section in the course that said there's no difference between hypnosis and meditation, but meditation takes us to the same place, which is the different brainwave states, takes
Yeah,
us down to delta state, theta state, where we can start making those differences, and we can do that on our own or with affirmations. The
yeah,
power of affirmations in life, people. I still laugh when people say, "Oh, affirmations are silly." Like, you've got no idea. Your negative internal talk is just
yeah,
an affirmation.
absolutely. All the internal dialogue is affirmations, isn't it? That's all it is.
It is. We're just constantly affirming that our brain becomes suggestible to our own affirmations.
Absolutely. And we
So,
become more or less suggestible all throughout the day. You know, it's an ebb and flow of suggestibility. And so if you're not conscious about the programming that you're putting into yourself, then you will just pick up programming at random.
and everybody is programmed. Breaking those programs and those systems that we have is extremely powerful for people. So,
Absolutely.
what was it that you talk to us about your experience with meditation and why you just weren't sure?
So I guess I'd done a lot of self-hypnosis and a lot of using hypnosis CDs.
Yeah.
Uh, I love that. I decided that I wanted to try meditation. And when I did it, I never really felt that I'd got as deeply relaxed as I had using the self hypnosis or the hypnosis CDs. Essentially, I would lay there and I'd try not to think about stuff. I'd try to relax, you know. And at the end of it, I thought, well, did I get that right? You know, I tried my best. I do feel more relaxed. Is that meditation, or are other people doing something different? Are other people getting something different out of it?
That's the monkey mind.
That's it. I wasn't sure. And then I tried breathwork. And after the very first session, I absolutely knew that something had changed. It was incredible. Whereas, you know, doing hypnosis or meditation, I was relaxed. Breath work, my whole body was vibrating. You know, I was feeling tingling across my hands, my face, and this overwhelming sense of, I don't know, peace, well-being, wholeness, love, all of that. It was an incredible sensation, and I was hooked. I was hooked from the very first session. And once I'd done it, I knew that I had to share this with my clients. So I went, did a load of breath work myself, went and studied it, and then brought it to my clients because I don't know of anything else that is as powerful. And I mean, I think this is another element that I think is so beautiful about breath work. So when I do hypnosis, this is like content full and quite directive. And so it very much is me imparting, I guess, my thoughts onto you, my thoughts on how you should deal with the situation. However, when I lead breath work, I'm really just opening people up to their own intuition. You know, it's almost content free. I'm not imparting my will or my thoughts on them. I'm opening them up so that they can see what's true in their hearts. And that's the magic of it for me.
Oh, Mr. Regan. Thank you, sir. What a powerful explanation from a gentleman who's done hypnosis for so many years to talk about the profound effect that breathwork had on you. What was it that was being a man of hypnosis for many years? What was it that brought you to think, well, I want to try meditation? What was there anything you were going through, or what were you? What led you on that journey?
So I think this sort of harks back to what we were talking about, essentially being the sum total of the programming that goes into us.
Yeah.
And so I think when I first met you, I think most people would say that I was super laid back, you know, super chill, like nothing could get to me. And as I got older, I found my patience got shorter and shorter and shorter. And I didn't really realize what this was. But in truth, we hope that most of the stuff that happens to us in our life are good, positive things, but we also have negative things that go on. We store all that with us.
Yeah.
And in society, just in general life, it's not always appropriate to express all your emotions at the time. And so if something irritates you, you can't just let out that emotion. You're speaking to your boss, you're speaking to a bank manager, you don't let it all out, you keep it inside. Well, we carry all of this with us and we don't realize that we do. And I believe this is what's shortening down your patience. This is why you get disproportionately angry about a minor thing. It's because you've got a build-up of all this repressed emotion, essentially. And breath work is something that every time you do it, you take off another layer, you peel back a layer, like onions. Ogres are like onions. You peel back a layer, you become, you let go of this anger, this repressed emotion. And so suddenly I find my patience is becoming much more like it was. I don't get easily irritated by things. It has been transformational for me, life-changing. And I believe it'd be for anybody who does it.
I'm just thinking of a brand. That's fine. Yeah, I love it. What you've described there, being a man from meditation, I've always said this is people start doing meditation until they realize they're not reacting to things, so they stop meditating. And then a month, 2 months, 3 months down the line, you're like, why am I getting angry? It's because I'm not meditating. It's because I'm not meditating. It's the meditation and the breath work that does. So what you explained there about the anger and the frustration and the repressed memories, and for some people, the dysregulated nervous system that happens from things that have happened in the past, and it doesn't get to regulate. People don't understand that the breath is the elixir of life.
Absolutely.
And just by being able, it puts you straight back into the parasympathetic nervous system, which takes you out of the dysregulated sympathetic nervous system, which is a really, really powerful thing for people. And they'll never understand the power of breath. But this is what, so we talked about this. You don't do cold water therapy, but I love and adore cold water therapy. I do it every day. If I don't go in the water, I get a bit crabby. Good old Scottish word there, even though I'm not Scottish, crabby. And it's for that reason is I find I'm pushing myself into a stressful situation, which cold water therapy is, and then I start being able to manage that excruciating experience, which is getting in cold water. And by the way, it's been colder in the summer in Scotland than it was in the winter.
Oh, wow.
3 days ago, we were in the water and we're all like, why is it so cold? Why is it so cold? So that helps us to open our window of tolerance. People's window of tolerance gets smaller and smaller and smaller if they don't have that release. They don't, and that's exactly what you've done, David. And that's the power of breathwork. Is it's a release. You've got to keep releasing, and I think people are really just not understanding of that power of the release. You need the release.
Absolutely. Everybody needs some way of letting go of that tension, that stress, and breathwork is such a healthy way to do it. In comparison to drinking a bottle of wine, fun, but nowhere near as healthy. And you can then obviously get caught into a negative cycle. I made light of drinking a bottle of wine, but we all know that can lead to some real unhealthy, life-changing consequences.
Yes. People, yeah, and so I know that from experience, and we talked about language. I don't think people understand the power of language that we speak internally, externally, and from other people. We are constantly being programmed, and everyone is really, really suggestible. And that's when you learn, you've learned NLP as I've learned NLP. Just the power of asking the right questions to people can change their days just by knowing how that sentence structure and how we can create those positive outcomes for people becomes a really powerful tool for us in the business that we do. But the language that people will say and repeat starts becoming a belief, and we code our beliefs in. And that belief there is, and I've heard many people say, oh, I'll be all right once I've had a glass of wine, or I'll just have a glass of wine to take the edge off, or a beer, or if I didn't have the beer, I wouldn't be calm, or if I didn't have the what. I don't think people are understanding how they're wiring, coding, programming themselves subconsciously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are picking up that programming all the time. And, we live in a world where our thoughts are reinforced. So any natural bias you have, your smartphone is going to reinforce, because the cookies track you, you're stuck in the filter bubble. You look at one story, suddenly you're served 20 more stories, all preaching the same thing.
It's really bad, especially so, and it is bad because sometimes something pops up that I know I shouldn't be watching, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happened there? Whether it's a serial killer or something really weird on that, I'm like, oh my God, that's just popped up on TikTok. And I love TikTok. I do a lot on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, I'll watch that for a few seconds. Then the next 6 posts are the same thing, and I'm like, no, I don't like those things. It was just that one off. The algorithms, absolutely.
Yeah.
The programming. You are so right. Let's get back to the release, the power of release. I think that's going to be the title of the podcast because I think it's a great word. What have you seen within your clients, the power of the release within them? What kind of outcomes have you seen just from breathwork, the breathwork that you do?
It's incredible. I always end my breathwork workshops with these heart-opening moments, and so I'm really conscious that we stir up, some deep emotions with people, and I want them to leave the sessions grounded. And so at the end of the session, we'll fill them back up with gratitude, a sense of wholeness, a sense of love, so we get this real positive end to the workshop. But people are letting go of really heavy stuff. I'm uncomfortable really like giving very specific details about what people release in these workshops, but it is real heavy stuff. It can be real heavy stuff. Equally, next week they might release something that was their boss annoyed them at work. Every breathwork session is different. Every breathwork you release something different. You're just peeling back those layers. And I think this is perhaps what I was talking about when I was saying how content free and undirected it was. People are processing the things that they're ready to process right now. And so it might be something big. They might start with something small, but this is a process. And I think when I first started doing hypnosis and NLP, I had some ego in there. And so it was like, I fixed that person in 45 minutes. I fixed that person in 15 minutes. I didn't fix anybody. They were fixing themselves. And now I've let go of that ego, and I'm saying, okay, I trust that you've got all the resource that you need within you. You've got the innate knowledge of what you can handle right now. Let's just go through. It's a process. It doesn't need to be 45 minutes. Like, if you have to come back and see me week after week to get through all of your stuff, then that's what we'll do. That's fine. There's no time limit on this. This is your journey. You take it at your pace. I'm just here to facilitate you and help you and support you along the way. I'm really going to be there to big you up, to make you feel good after the session, to give you the confidence in yourself, the belief in yourself that you can do it and that you are worth it. Give people that belief. And I really believe you can just give them the breath that is that catalyst for change. They can make those changes themselves. Just be there to support them, hold space. That's it.
The conduit.
Yeah, that's it. We're just setting that container, holding the space for them. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a powerful thing. And I think a lot of people, I know when you do get those releases, and ego does pop up. And I'm always very honest. It does pop up for me sometimes but we could look
human.
at it as,
of course it does.
But there's always that part that I have to ask myself, is this ego, or am I, oh my God, this stuff does work? It's one of those things where I'm like, no, I need to tell the world about these things, that we can make changes in 45 minutes, because I think the world needs to know that. And then
Absolutely.
it's the difference, isn't it? Is the but I get that. I do get that premise of when we go through. I think everybody, when they become a coach or a hypnotherapist, and they've paid their hard-earned money and they've gone through the coaching process to become a coach. And bearing in mind, I think some of the statistics for people in the coaching industry is that like 82% of coaches fail, don't get a thriving business, and then they go on to really hating the coaching industry for whatever reason, because those feelings of false promises pop up. But there has to be that accountability sometimes with people of like, I'm a big believer in ups and downs are coming. We know they are. They're not always going to be consistent. It's the ones that will succeed and have a flourishing business will come not from a place of ego, but from a place of consistency.
Yeah.
And removing that, I'll do this for the success and realizing I'll carry on until I'm successful, is that language change will create a different sense of purpose in people and creating that service. And when you talk about breathwork, there's a sense of service. And I like the fact that you were getting stressed, and we'll not talk about what happened in Fuerteventura, but I know why you weren't stressed in Fuerteventura, which is why I laughed when you said everyone knew me as a chill.
Yeah.
That was a great sense of structure there, Dave. It really was. So how do because you're based down in Bournemouth,
Yeah.
so is it Soma Breath you call your session?
Ena Breath.
Ena
Ena
Breath.
Breath.
Ena Breath. Ena Breath. So the whole Ena Breath with you down in, because you're the New Forest as well, which is quite a grounding place anyway, right?
Yeah. Beautiful place to be. Yeah. Absolutely lovely to be able to get out in nature,
Yeah.
which I think is great for everybody. I think that's, there's real proven benefits there.
Being a father,
yeah,
do you wish you'd started breathwork earlier? Because I'm trying to look at the journey. I know how old your kids are now, and I can't believe I was there at the birth of the kids, because one of them was Wade was in Lanzarote, wasn't he? Wasn't Wade? Have you froze?
No, you froze. I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Right, okay. When was Wade born?
2007.
Was that in Lanzarote?
I think it was just before we moved to Lanzarote. We were still in Fuerteventura at the time.
I remember, because we came to see him in Lanzarote. Being a father, and how long did you go through the stressful, the anger, the wanting to, the bottled up emotions? How long did you go through that process before thinking, right, what was the warning sign for Dave?
I think it's really hard to say, because I think this is something that creeps up on you. It's little by little, isn't it? I don't know that there was there a straw that broke the camel's back? I think I went through a period where I was really quite snappy and short-tempered, and I realized that I was reacting in a way I didn't want to. I didn't like how I was behaving, and I knew it wasn't authentic. This isn't me, and that's when I knew I needed to do something. I remember saying to Sharon, I don't really know what's up with me. I don't really know what the problem is, but I do recognize that I'm not easy to live with at the moment, and I'll do something about it.
Yeah. So I think that's really powerful. So a lot of people listening to this, well, how do I know if I'm in that place? So one of the most powerful things that I learned, and I always, and probably in every podcast I've referenced this, but it's a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Richard Carlson. And there was a perfect analogy and diagram of a thought pendulum. Your thoughts and your conversations will predictate your emotional state without realizing it.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking, woe is me, the whole world's against me, nobody likes me, you're in a negative, disinformed emotional state.
Yeah.
You are in a place of the whole world's fantastic. You probably swinging too far into the positive. Actually, you want to get your pendulum hanging right down where there's not that much thought. You're just going through life. And I always find gratitude always brings people down from the negative, so that but again, if you're living too much in the positive, you'll have bigger negative depression kind of falls.
Yeah.
It's about understanding. So the one thing I do, and I hope this brings some solace to some people that listen to the podcast, is I recognize that my thoughts tell me my emotional state if I'm not aware of my emotional states. And if I'm having an internal conversation of, I want to I was like, there it is. That's the conversation. The conversation is driven by my emotions. The emotions will be from my thoughts will be driven by my emotions, and that's something I've always found really powerful. That's how I recognize it now, and I'll always recognize it more now when I'm tired or possibly dehydrated. My conversations, my monkey mind gets really, really loud. To be honest with you, is there anything that you recognize now, or is there something that you do now? Have you passed any of this on to the kids? Because the kids are going to work. Do they come to you and say they have anxiety, or I'm stressed about this, or I'm worried about this? Do you say, let's go and breathe in the garden, son?
No, to be honest, my kids think it's really woo-woo, you know.
But woo-woo works.
Yeah, they're not down with it. But of course, you know, everything I've learned in this industry, in all the time, you manage to slip little suggestions in, you know.
Yes.
So perhaps we're not sitting down and doing a session, but it's about choosing the right words at the right time. You know, just plant a seed, let it grow.
Absolutely. And how are the kids getting on?
Great. Yeah, Wade's learning to drive. They've both got little Saturday jobs. You know, it's great. It makes me feel old, but it's great.
Unbelievable. From sat on each other's couches in Fuerteventura, I think I used to play Xbox. It was Need for Speed 2 that I used to play an
Yeah.
awful lot. Magic. Magic was one of our conversation pieces.
Magic, yeah. We were both. I don't do any magic now. Do you do any magic now?
Every night. I'll not finish that sentence. But yeah, no, I know, but I know a lot about magic. I got really into magic for many, many years. And I loved doing magic. And I suppose it's all part of the illusion of life. Oh, see what I did there? Oof.
Cool. Like
Oof.
it.
That was a nice wrap up, wasn't it? The illusion
Certainly
of
was.
life. Oof, there we go. There was a segue. Woo woo works.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. And I'm not sure it matters why it works, just that it does.
It's the release, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's knowing that. I think one of the most powerful things is that if it's not going to bother us in 5 years' time, there's no need to worry about it now. If it's not going to bother us in 1 year time, we don't need to get wrapped up in it now. And that moment of being present, which is what breathwork gives so many people, is where the release happens. The release happens in the being present, I think. As Frozen once said, let it go.
Love Elsa.
And on that, Dave, is there anything else you want to share to the world for our first podcast? But I have a feeling not the first of many ventures that we might have together. Is there anything else you want to share to the world?
I think the only thing I would share is that give breathwork a try. You don't have to love breathwork. If breathwork isn't your thing, try something else. That's fine. You know, we won't fall out over it, but give it a try. Give it a real honest go. You'll find it's transformational.
Transformational. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, mate.
Thank you for having me.
The Power of Release with David Regan.
Amazing. Like it.
Do you want it to be the Power of Release, or do you want it to be called the Conduit of Release, David Regan?
Let's call it the Power of Release. Yeah.
I think that's a better word. Well done. Yeah. You know. Thank you so much, Dave. Stay exactly there as I say thank you to absolutely everyone. The Mind Management Mentors podcast is something that's passionate to my heart, giving coaches the options and the choices to be able to move forward into mind management, into life coaching, NLP. I'm a big believer in one modality is not enough. Saying you're just an NLP or cognitive behavioral therapy or a life coach is not enough. It doesn't. There's too many modalities out there, such as breathwork, meditation. Is any better than the other? That's not for us to say. I know Dave had a brief chat on EFT tapping and how you find it's really powerful. I don't find it that powerful. I love that conversation. That's maybe something for us to have in the future. Becoming the mind management coach that you want to be, or that person who helps and serves others, as David does, as I do, becomes extremely powerful and purposeful. And I hope with these podcasts, we bring you that little bit of purpose or that sense of this is something I can do as well. As always, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And big love from Cuddy, and I'll see you in the next podcast.